I don't even know what to say. I have about had it. Everybody, and I mean everybody, has lost the damn plot. And I'm starting to feel like, do we have to teach you people everything? Like we being us, like you, me, like the cool kids over here with a brain. Like, do we have to literally teach and show you people everything? Like, it was fun for a minute, except now it's just getting a little old. You know what I mean? So, we are covering a range of people. I mean, the limit does not exist when it comes to the people and lunatics who have lost the plot and their own plot these days in this fine day and age that we are in. But today we're going to be hitting and quitting, hopefully, for the love of God, Jesus, the Democratic Party on the whole, Candace Owens and her hard on for calling out Israel and railing in on Israel. Okay, no pun intended. And the conservative feedback to women's sexuality, showing their bodies, movies, etc. at the Oscars. Where do I begin?
Deemed the Celebrity Whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touch them. You're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby.
This is good.
Taylor Ferber.
Do you want the good or the bad first? Do you want the good news or the bad news? Let's go with, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, let's get the good. Because we know at this point in time, like it is fleeting, it is not everlasting. So let's just take it while we can. All right. So here's the good news first with everything that has gone on this week, this wretched week. So help me God. Okay. Is Trump's what was otherwise the State of the Union, but his address to Congress. And I was seated and I was sat. And you have everybody, and they're like, I'm pretty sure Patrick Starr has come out under his rock dwelling to talk about this. Everyone, Tom Brady, wow, Freudian slip, Dave Portnoy, every commentator, the good, the bad, and the ugly, everyone's talking about this. The good, the bad. I wish Clint Eastwood was talking about this because then your girl would be paying more attention, right? So everyone had a lot to say, and I will say, even though watching this was really like Dave Portnoy said, it was like reality TV. You see them all hooting and hollering in the chamber, and you're thinking, these are our leaders. Like these are the leaders of our democracy and of our country, and they're acting like a bunch of housewives about to tear each other's weaves out and flip tables. Like what actually is happening? And I will say this, even though it was ratchet and ghetto and entertaining for better or worse, I can't lie, guys. Maybe this is just the optimist in me, the naive part of me. Or maybe it is just the good old we the people constitution loving part of your girl here, because I felt a type of warm, and this is a take I've yet to see, okay? I felt a type of all warm and fuzzy inside watching this play out because I was like, look at the, like you have Al Green unhinged, like throwing his cane, like the grandpa and Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, but like literally deranged and unhinged. And, you just have like all of this chaos and, Trump calling Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, and she's like, I was deceased. I became unalive in that moment, and she's all defiant, like clapping. I thought to myself, in what other country? Like, it is such a beautiful thing. I loved it. Unpopular opinion at me. I do not give a shit. Okay. I am tired. I am on round 2 of my sex goddess body fitness journey because I got too lenient with my maintenance and my ass is a little more jiggly than I'd like. Okay, so I'm spending more time in the gym. I'm tired. I'm watching all these influencers hooting and hollering. So at me, I don't give a fuck. Okay, but I liked it because I thought, wow, this is the beauty of democracy. This is the beauty of free speech. Like, here you have our Congress, our sitting president, our vice president, some of the most important and influential and powerful people in our government and on the planet. Even Elon Musk in a goddamn suit, as I live and as I breathe. Elon, I would take you in the t-shirt though, bro, okay? And all your tech bro glory. Yeah, I saw you passing that woman next to you, the water bottle. You got the riz. But I loved it. I was just like, here we are seeing them. And in what other country are we going to see them throwing down like this and having the freedom to openly dispute and go at it? Now, was it a little more trailer park than I would prefer? Sure. But I just watched it with a little bit of my heart swelling with pride, thinking, good old USA, born in the USA. Like, only here can we see that sort of display. And a melting pot, quite literally, of opinion and of walks of life and points of view. And I thought, I like to see it. And that was my, glimmering hope of the night. But, good things only last so long. And as displayed with all of these examples today, this is simply why we cannot have nice things. We're not allowed nice things. Is because what we saw, unfortunately, I mean, literally, these Dems are working the graveyard shifts on themselves. Like, they were just set up, they were tossed the softballs to look like the world's biggest a-holes, and they took it and they ran with it. Okay, like, it is a league of their own, actually, literally. So in all this, you have all these viral moments happening from this night. And I just wanted to preface this as well by saying I feel like it's lost on a lot of people because we have amnesia, because we're ADD, because we're in the here and now, and because like we have the attention span of a literal goddamn gnat. But this is par for the course with these types of speeches, this political sort of theater. And as much as I loved Trump's speech and I love the specificity and I love that he did keep his cool, like even like when Al Green was like literally just causing a whole scene, he just like looks at him like that teacher. You're like, oh shit. I like he's looking at him in disapproval, just shaking his head with the side eye. I was like, oh shit, like you don't want to mess with this. But he perfectly placed all of the props. So I'm not saying props because some of them really were emotionally moving. And I think people who are sane, even like, the Chris Cuomos, people on all sides are recognizing these are things that if you have like one cell of a human race in your body, like you should be able to come behind and honor and be moved by and at least applaud and clap for, right? You had everything from 13-year-old, cancer survivor DJ Daniel, who was like the viral moment of my heart and of our time, right? Like this kid, every quote he has needs to actually be cemented in a museum. But you had, the mother and sister of Lincoln Riley. You had the man who was held hostage in Russia with his 95-year-old mother. Again, mothers of young girls who were brutally raped and killed by illegal immigrants. So all of these things that anybody with any sort of pulse, again, should be able to, I would think, unless you're not a straight up sociopathic Charles Manson freak, be able to get behind. But it did make me laugh. And I said this immediately after, how everything was so strategically placed. Like even DJ Daniel and his dad, you notice like these are the ones to be emblematic of like law enforcement, right? And you have like the dad and the do-rag and like the little black kid with brain cancer. And then even like with the border patrol, you have like, the older like Latino man to like be all proud talking about the border. So like all these things, I just was like, I see you. Like I see what's happening here, right? But all that to say, none of this is new. We just get all excited about it because, everyone wants their 5 seconds to have a hot take on Instagram. So we're acting like this is all new. And, we've seen a lot of this before. But again, what maybe we have not seen before is the reaction or lack thereof of the Democrats who honestly, like, they are not doing themselves any favors. They are just totally obliterating themselves. I mean, honestly, like they are just eliminating themselves from the planet. Like, Candace Owens advocates basically for Hamas to do with Israel. I mean, I'm just saying, like, they are just not humans. Like, I don't even know what you're thinking. Like, when you see a story, honestly, when I saw the DJ Daniel thing, how sweet and how his eyes opened up and how we find out he's lived like years past he was told and is given the honor of being, a honorary Secret Service member and hugs the Secret Service. Like, it's a whole thing. And you see these sour puss. Democrats, like carpool moms who are bitter and who are way too invested in these soccer games and have been in the muddy rain at these soccer games for hours and hours on end and probably haven't gotten laid by their husbands in 2 years. Like they're sitting there like these sour puss a-holes. And not only can they not only clap and cheer for those endeavors. Like if you don't want to acknowledge Trump's sweep because he opens it with the numbers and all 7 swing states and the popular vote and the electoral and all this. If you don't want to acknowledge that, fine. Again, even I think it's asinine to not acknowledge the billions in dollars of our tax money that's just being cut right now because of lazy people grandfathered in who don't even have it in them, nor the ghosts of who whatever role they were employed in to send an email back to be like, hi, I'm alive. Like, fine. You don't want to acknowledge any of that, the Doge, what Trump's doing, fine. But like this stuff that is just literally at a baseline humanity, like you have literally been boiled down to sick, demented individuals. And it's like, that's how far, I mean, again, even like a Chris Cuomo is able to acknowledge that. It's like, that's how far your identity politics go, that you're going to sit there with your like, Bob Butch haircut, blue wigs, sourpuss over a little 13-year-old boy, like having his moment of a lifetime. Like, what has possessed your brain? Like, what is literally wrong with you? Like with these little paddles and this whole thing, like the whole thing was so disgusting. And so needless to say, I think that's pretty evident how they are now, tracking us and all of them into their own way of their own no man's land. But all that to say is, case in point, number one of how these people have lost the plot. Literally, I'm thinking like you people never want to win anything ever again in your entire existence. At least like not while you're roaming the earth in no man's land. Like, do you ever want to have any sort of victory or win anyone over with a working brain in this century? And you see the trickle and the fallout. And this is where, like, I talked recently in one of my episodes about people being so bought into their own narrative, but it gets to a point where you almost feel like you're hallucinating. You're like, am I in like a simulation? Like, is this actually real life? Because how am I on this plane of existence and they are on the same one, evidently, and having the same experiences I am with my ears and eyes? Like, what actually is happening here? So, an example of that is somebody like, a Stephen Colbert who does his little, which by the way, I need to know. You talk about Doge, you want to talk about efficiency, you want to talk about cutting the fat in people who literally are incompetent and useless and don't bring in anything. Who is paying these late night hosts? Who, like, are these late night hosts enlisting their own friends and family unwillingly probably to watch their own shows? Like, how these are staying afloat? This is like the Miracle on, 42nd Street reincarnated, because I don't know how these people are, who's paying for them and who's keeping these jobs, because they're just so not funny, so unfunny. I don't know if that's a word. That's why I said not funny. And they're so out of touch. And Stephen Colbert goes on to make comments about Trump's address, and he says, it's by a useful idiot for a bunch of useful idiots. And I'm thinking, like, bro, you just described your own show. Like, you're trying to tell me you just described your own show? You didn't realize it. Like, are we having that much of a meta moment? Are you okay? How do they not see this? I even saw, I know, I even to even say this, Karine Jean-Pierre on The View. Guys, I know. Trust me, it pains me to bring this combo, I'm sorry, to you, because you didn't think it could get any worse than what we witnessed that night by the Dems, how disgusting they are. And bottom, like feeders, bottom of the earth. But we do have Karine Jean-Pierre on The View. And she goes on to just perpetuate all. I'm like, did you just have a fever dream and just come up with this shit and say it? And meanwhile, all these imbeciles are nodding along like, yeah. I mean, really. It's just, if you want to talk about AI, I mean, this is the most advanced display of mindless robots who have been programmed that I've ever seen. Like, hats off to these people, because that is sophisticated technology. And you have this woman going on and on about how people aren't saying how Trump is the least popular president of all time, despite How many minutes ago did he sweep the entire country? And by the way, I think, what was it, like 34 million people watched his address. But not only that, she goes so far as to say, and she's referencing the Doge cuts, and she goes so far as to say that people now are so worried about planes falling out of the sky and not having clean water and all this shit. And I'm like, coming from the administration, that I'm sorry, guys, I am the first person to be like loud, proud female, hear me roar, throw me in with the men and let me do better. But I'm sorry, every time we hear about a plane flipping upside down or some catastrophe, or, even like when Trump was shot with the Secret Service there to protect him, and he was so great about it, being like, no, they were good. But, we saw it was a little bit inadequate because what have you in all of these roles, it's a woman probably presumably filled as a DEI hire who's not qualified. And so now you're going to tell me that now that we are really like shining a light on all this and course correcting, that now we should be scared. Like, lady, bow out. And for the sake of our sanity, like once I get there, girl, you can be on my payroll. I don't care. Just stop poisoning the public with with these antics that truly make no goddamn sense. Okay. We've had enough. And, if you want to go have a gangbang with the ladies of The View and go get off to all of your views that are completely out of touch and make no sense, by all means. But you are wasting precious airtime, okay? And, poisoning the minds of those who are, for whatever reason, still lost souls in no man's land that are still listening to you. So I'm sorry if that was harsh, but that's true. It's like, just live in reality. I don't care if you deeply disagree with the person, but just be in a somewhat state of reality so we can take you at least a little bit seriously. Right? Which is why, again, these Dems lost the plot the other night, being, so poopy pants about everything that we've just completely discredited them all. It's like, I'm sorry, you couldn't even literally clap and smile for a 13-year-old cancer survivor. Like, you have serious issues. If anything, maybe we should allocate these Doge funds to these people for a psych eval. And someone else, again, in the vein of all this, I saw a clip of New Mexico Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury, and she's going off about immigration and same thing, like going off about how like it's all just fallacy and Trump just lies and this isn't what really has been happening with illegal aliens and blah, 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 blah. But this girl is going, like, you would think that this was like a Popeye the Sailor trucker convention of bleep, 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 this and that. Literally, she's using every expletive. Blip, blip, blip. Again, like it is just ratchet. Like I understand the line, and I think it's great that politics, like I said earlier, have become so entertaining because we're involved, we're engaged, and hell, you only live once. It should be entertaining, right? At least it makes it accessible to us because these are policies that actually affect our lives. And so if it's highbrow and stiff and boring, we don't care. Like we're tuned out. We are not coming correct because we don't need to correct this. Like, we just don't care. But with this, it's like, why? Like, why the bleep, 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 bleep? Like, you just look like classless. So in sum, that just shows how all of these people on the whole have just wandered off into the land of no return. And will they ever venture and make it back? I don't know. But good luck to all of them on their journey, bon voyage, to whatever land of derangement and disillusion they are embarking over to. So, next up is Candace Owens, who you guys know I have been on a whole kick lately because, and again, this is why I was like, damn, we really can have nice things, because I have been very transparent that I've always been someone who's like, I respect her for this, but I don't always disagree with her. And sometimes I'd rag on her being like, she's grifting, she's totally off base here, whatever it was. But lately, I have been totally obsessed with her investigative series, be it the Brigitte Macron, who is 110% a man, okay? Call me tinfoil hat, I'll wear it well, I don't care. The Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, Ryan Reynolds mess, and the new Harvey Weinstein stuff, which I have to say, that shit is compelling with a capital C, right? So I really like how she has been like, I'm removing myself like arm's length from politics. They've all put a bad taste in my mouth. And, they all do like what's just in favor of them and, self-serving and all this, similarly to what I've said, So I appreciate that she has like pivoted to what she's passionate about. And that's really gripping. Like, it's working on me. She and Jay Shetty are up there with like shameless self marketers and self promoters. But hey, it's working on me because I'm tuning into all of these investigative series. Like, you know, I am there. I'm coming. So, I mean, I'm not coming like that. I'm not that excited. Don't get me wrong. But this again, I was like, okay, finally, like, okay, I could see like Candace and I like being cool. Like maybe we'll be on each other's shows. Maybe where I used to be like, and then I hear her on this incessant obsession with railing in on Israel and Jews, basically. And, she masks it really well because she's self-deprecating in being like, and kind of being owning, like, I'm the biggest anti-Semite, guys. Like, even though I have Jewish friends and this and that. And the thing with her on this entire tirade is that this is like low-key anti-Semitism where it's like it runs so deep that she doesn't even realize it's there. And so I'm really sick and tired of hearing her go on this diatribe time after time about how Israel is the one committing ethnic cleansing, how Israel is the one who is expanding their country lines and is becoming ethnocentric and, all of this bullshit when Israel is the size of New Jersey, is the only democratic state in the Middle East. And gee, I don't know, since its conception has been defending itself from neighboring countries, from radical Islamists whose literal religion, their manifesto is to exterminate all of Israel and the Jews whom they hate. So who's committing the ethnic cleansing here? And that's what gets me so twisted about this is now she's brought into the fold. Like she is so on this. She's brought in Theo Vaughn. She's brought in Andrew Tate, which like if I give a flying shit about anything that Andrew Tate has to say, you think it's going to be this? Like you think that this is going to give credibility with this numbnuts thinks? With this like angry little boy man thinks about this. Like, this is not helping your case. And I'm just really sick and tired of it. And that's the thing. I'm like, and she is like committed to this. And her whole thing is like, I'm a Christian. She's going off on conservatives and she's calling them the ones who defend Israel, like the right version of the woke. How they've shut her off, how she's gotten in trouble. And she says it's just like my Christians and seeing my Christian, religion and seeing children getting hurt and killed and all of this and calling it genocide. And I'm like, lady, you're a smart person, okay? How do you not see? But that's the thing. That's the point of this. It's not that Candace Owens isn't smart because I think she's highly intelligent. She's just blind. She just won't see it. Like, she does not see that this is a place that is overrun by Hamas terrorists that purposefully infiltrate themselves in every function of civilian life, from schools to hospitals to apartment buildings, where they are plotting their destruction and extermination of Jews in Israel. Okay? You think they give a shit about the Palestinian people? They do this on purpose. So Israel is doing what they're doing, okay, to defend the ethnic cleansing after them. And then when they wipe all this out and level all this out because Hamas has purposefully and strategically placed themselves among these civilians who are pawns, Israel's the bad guy. Israel's the bad guy. And why do you think that no other Arab country wants to lend out a helping hand and take them in and do something? They're like, I'm not getting involved with this mess. I want no part of this mess. Gee, because it's run by savage, immoral, disgusting terrorists. Gee, I don't know. And so Netanyahu, why I don't think he's a saint. You want to paint him as that one? Like, are you okay? I love you and I love what you're doing, But don't make me put you in the camp of the disillusioned aforementioned Dems, okay? Because that is a place that no one wants to be. And that's why I just think that, that whole thing is absolutely gross. I'm sick and tired of it. And I'm sick and tired of it because I see in the comments, like, it's perpetuating this narrative of like how people so easily, and this is what I mean, how anti-Semitism is so strong and goes so unchecked. How people easily in the comments will be like, oh, can't come after the Jews. Oh, the Jews this. Oh, the Jews that. Imagine us literally saying that, like, oh, can't go after the blacks. Oh, can't go after the Mexicans. Oh, can't go after the Asian. Like, it would never happen. And so now people like she and people like Kanye West, who actually needs to literally be in a straitjacket, okay, and is mentally disturbed, wearing swastikas and shit. This is where like they perpetuate this thing of like, oh, the Jews are the protected, like can't say anything about them, God forbid. God forbid, you can't say anything. It's like how white people feel about black people. It's like, oh, we can't say anything about black people. That's what black people are perpetuating, like Candace Owens, about Jews. And I'm really sick of it because if you look at just what it is, like if you literally look at what it is, and that's not to say that the devastation, I've seen the videos too that she's referring to of Palestinian children weeping and limbs blown off and bleeding. I've seen all of it, and I've seen the horrific footage that is seared in my memory of October 7th as well. Don't even get me down that path right now. So I've seen it and I get it. And when you look at what it really is, it's funny because she talks a lot about like getting emotion. There shouldn't be emotion in this, like with the Harvey Weinstein stuff. And it's like when you strip it down to what it is, which is these barbaric, radical, who in their religion, who literally don't believe in, won't acknowledge, and will make it their life's mission, literally out and proud to exterminate a group of people. And you want to call the latter the oppressors? Yeah, we have some sorting out to do. So, on a lighter note, to end all of this, is you talk about sorting out to do, right? Is all the sexuality at the Oscars. And before we get to Honora, I want to tell you about a piece that Megyn Kelly wrote about the red carpet fashion in which like the nip was being freed and like I'm talking, this wasn't at the Oscars per se. This was I think at the Brit Awards, but like Charlie XCX, full blown nips. You had Julia Fox, even though it looked like Julia Fox, it was like this whole weird like crack whore mermaid thing with like a Wookiee taken from your drain, her hair put all over her, but whatever. Her nipples, like all these people's nipples were out, okay? In this sheer dress, that's like the trend. And so Megyn Kelly writes an article and basically says, why are they show? Because of course it's like I knew it, and I told you I'm surprised that the right didn't have a collective meltdown over Honora doing so well, which is about a sex worker, but I'm gonna talk about that in a sec. But thus is Megyn Kelly. And again, it's like they just have this like I don't even know. I'm like, do they actually believe this, or is it just because it's like they're so on autopilot? But this thing of ragging on women, and she says like why, and it's sad because it's like you're the one perpetuating this of women being one or the other, but she says why do they have to show like they're skanky, I'm paraphrasing, right, but knocking them down and degrading them and demoralizing them for showing their bodies. And granted, they're not like on stripper poles, like they're sheer fashion, whatever that is, outfits, but basically saying like, why do you have to do this and show us and expose yourselves when you should be like making an intelligent and articulate point and saying something substantive? And so that bothers me for a multitude of reasons. Number one, it's like, again, presuming you're one that you can't be the other, like that I hate that. And it's also like with some things, like you guys know I'm the first one to troll Hollywood, but some things it's like take it for what it is. Like it's fodder. It's sort of like superficial. It's Hollywood. It's glitz, glamour, elitist. They're doing it, the theater, all this. And so we're going to see their outfits and all that. Do you want them to go do an oral dissertation on the history of the Middle East? Like, it's sort of like there's a time and place. And so one doesn't negate the other. It doesn't mean that any of these women, just because they choose to show their bodies, they can't hold their own in a intelligent conversation, nor should they right then and there. So it just bothers me. It's like, okay, do women have to, and again, this is coming from me, bitch, okay? It's like, but do women have to be on a soapbox making some point 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Like, can something just be what they are? And you know what? The same thing goes for men. Like, I don't need men to, as much as I loved like the Zelensky Trump um showdown, if you will, like I can also just sit back and appreciate like a hot Clint Eastwood being a hot Clint Eastwood. Actually, that's what was the allure of Clint Eastwood, is that he didn't talk so much. It's like it's hot. Like I don't need everybody to be making a point about something 24/7, never mind a woman, you know. But I did think that this was interesting. I saw a take in which what's her name? Erin Wexler. She used to go by non-lib take. She actually had, and she kind of missed the mark as well, but I will give her, you know, an A for creativity. So this is a conservative, and she said that actually this should be a win for conservatives that Honora swept the Oscars because it broke every woke rule. It was for the male gaze. It talked about how, you know, how sex actually is an intimate thing and not just throwaway. It was directed by like a straight white male, and you know, all these things. And so we should be celebrating that. Like, let's not fall into the trap that the left falls into. Like, you know, wokeness is over, and like this proves it. It just fell in on themselves. And I would say what she's missing here is the fact that the movie is about sex workers, and everyone, Mikey Madison in her acceptance speech, like everyone is like, this is dedicated to the sex workers who we spent extensive time with and learned from. And it was an honor and a memorable, you know, part of this experience and all this. And that's why the left loves it. That's why I thought the right was going to lose their marbles, right? That is why. So it did mark that woke checkpoint. I mean, this is essentially highlighting a prostitute, you know, like a new age pretty woman, not as like Disney, which right constantly rags on. Like they like look at even Candace Owens, all of them. They're constantly talking about Cardi B, Meg's prostitution. They're calling Kim Kardashian a prostitute, right? So that's why like the left loves it, because in their mind it's like, oh yeah, women being in her power and liberated. I think they take it too far sometimes, but that was their woke little checkbox for them. That was their star on the charts in class that day. So, you know, that kind of brings me to the final point here, which is even this last commentator, right? Like everything with all these, it has to be like a side. Like even the last thing, it's like, no, 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 our side should take credit for this versus their side. Don't let their side take credit. And sometimes, like, it's just played, it's just tired. This is going to seem a little groundbreaking. Okay. Colbert, watch out. What's left of shambles of your shit show. Maybe, guys, not everything has to always be a side. Maybe, like some people we talked about here today, should realize that some things are just plain old human. You should try it out sometime.